The monitors went flat at 11:47 in the evening. 3 specialists had been in that room: a cardiologist flown in from Boston, a neurologist with 30 years of experience, a critical care physician who had never once walked away from a patient without certainty. All 3 walked away. The family was notified. The paperwork was begun. The night nurse dimmed the lights. By midnight, the most powerful man in the city had been declared dead. By morning, everything had changed. Not because of the specialists, not because of the equipment or the protocol, because of a 3-year-old girl in a pink dress who had pressed her small hand against an unconscious man's face in the middle of the night and held her teddy bear against his chest and talked to him in the quiet, certain way that very small children talk to things they believe can hear them. And because of her mother, who had been cleaning that floor for 9 years and knew on the morning everything changed, that the most important thing she had ever done in that building had nothing to do with a mop. Before we begin, if you believe that the smallest and most overlooked people sometimes carry the greatest gifts, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales, and share this with someone who needs to believe in something today. His name was Roman Hale. He was 58 years old and had spent 3 decades building a real estate empire that operated across 4 continents. He had been described in financial publications as visionary, relentless, and difficult in roughly equal measure, and had never disputed any of the 3. He had one daughter named Sarah, who was the only person on earth who argued with him without calculating the consequences first. He had arrived at the hospital 11 days earlier following a cardiac event that his housekeeper had recognized and responded to with a speed the paramedics later described as the reason he arrived at the hospital alive. She had taken a first aid course the previous year and had never mentioned it to anyone because it had not seemed like something that required mentioning. The first week looked manageable. Then a secondary event arrived, and the 3 specialists gathered in the corridor and used careful language to tell Sarah what it meant. She stood and listened, and showed none of it on her face. She had learned from her father, among other things, that rooms read your face before they read your words. She went home at 2 in the morning because the night nurse, a woman named Mernetta, whose name was written on the whiteboard in careful block letters alongside Sarah and Elisa, told her gently that rest was something she was also going to need. Mernetta was almost right. Her name was Ada Wren. She was 34 years old and had been cleaning the 4th floor of that hospital for 9 years. She was working toward a nursing qualification she had been building slowly, one examination at a time, around the edges of night shifts and single parenthood in a budget that required precision in every direction. Her daughter's name was Lily. Lily was 3 years old and had her mother's dark eyes and her own, entirely original understanding of the world. She had grown up in the company of adults doing serious work and had absorbed, without anyone intending it, a quality of presence that most adults spend their whole lives trying to locate. Ada brought Lily on night shifts when the hospital family room was available. The supervisor on the 4th floor, a woman named Marguerite who had worked that building for 21 years, had developed a precise sense of what required formal attention and what did not. Lily sleeping in a portable cot in the family room did not require formal attention. But 3-year-olds have their own relationship with staying where they are put. It was sometime after 2 in the morning when Ada came back to check and found the cot empty. The door was open. She moved into the corridor quickly, covering distance the way 9 years of night shift work teaches a person, and found Lily 3 rooms down. The door to Roman Hale's room had a latch that had been stiff for a week and was on the maintenance list and had not yet been reached. Lily had pushed it open with the complete physical commitment of a child who has identified a destination and is not deterred by logistics. She was on the bed. She had climbed up the way Lily climbed everything. She was lying against the man's side with her teddy, bare pressed against his chest. Her small hand was on his face, on his cheek, resting there with a gentleness that looked, in the low light of that room, like something deliberate. She was talking to him. Not loudly, in the quiet, continuous, unhurried way. She talked to her stuffed animals. When she thought no one was listening, Ada could not hear the words from the doorway, just the tone, the completely unbothered, completely confident tone of a child addressing something she believes is present. Ada stood in the doorway. She should have gone in immediately, She knew that. She stood there anyway for nearly a minute, counting the seconds later when she tried to understand why she had not moved. The closest she could come was this. There was something in that room that felt like it should not be interrupted. Not by protocol, not by logic, just by the particular quality of the stillness. The monitors, the low light. A 3-year-old with a teddy bear talking to an unconscious man, as though talking to him was the most natural and necessary thing happening anywhere in the building. Then the monitor changed. Not dramatically, not the way it happens in films. Just a small shift. A rhythm that had been doing one thing began doing something slightly different. Something that looked, to Ada's 9 years of watching monitors on that floor without being officially authorized to read them, like it was looking for something to hold on to. She went in. She did not take Lily off the bed. She sat in the chair beside the bed and put her hand over her daughter's hand, the one resting on the man's face, and she stayed. She stayed for 2 hours. Before we continue, we want to stop here, because Kindness Tales wants you to know what had been quietly holding Ada together long enough to be in that building on that night. There was a daycare director named Dora who had been accepting Ada's payments 2 weeks late for over a year without once making her feel it, saying only that these things have a way of working out and that she trusted Ada completely. There was a doctor named Dr. Ferris who worked the day shift on the 4th floor and had been leaving nursing textbooks from the library discard pile on Ada's cart for 3 years, each one with a small note inside that said simply, "Thought this might be useful." There was a parking attendant named Otto who had seen Ada arrive soaked 4 mornings in a row during the winter. Lily was sick because Ada would not spend money on covered parking when covered parking was the difference between Lily's antibiotics and not. Otto handed her an access card, said it was a spare, and had been quietly renewing it every 6 months since. None of these people knew each other. None of them knew they were part of a chain. They were just people who noticed someone and made a small decision. That chain put Ada on the 4th floor on that specific night. Ada's presence on that floor put Lily in that room. And Lily in that room was the thing that nobody has been able to fully explain since. This is what Kindness Tales believes. The impossible things almost never arrive alone. They arrive carried by a long, quiet line of ordinary people who did ordinary small things that added up to something no one planned and no one could have predicted. At 4:23 in the morning, Roman Hale moved his head. Ada pressed the call button. Mernetta arrived in 40 seconds. She looked at the monitors. She looked at Lily, asleep against the man's side with her teddy bear still pressed to his chest. She looked at Ada. She said, "How long have you been in here?" Ada said, "About 2 hours." Mernetta looked at the monitors again. Then she said she needed to call the team and asked Ada to take Lily back to the family room. Ada lifted Lily carefully. Lily made a small sound, held the teddy bear tighter, and did not fully wake. Ada carried her down the corridor and sat with her in the quiet of the family room until the sounds of the medical team moving through the floor told her something had changed. Roman opened his eyes 4 days later. In stages, the way someone surfaces from very far down. By the end of the week, he was awake for hours at a time. His first clear sentence, spoken to Sarah sitting beside the bed on a Tuesday afternoon, was direct in the way he had always been direct. He said, "I'm hungry." She laughed in a way she had not laughed in 2 weeks. He asked about the night of the 4th during his recovery. Sarah told him everything. She had spoken with Ada directly, finding her in the corridor and asking if she had a few minutes. Ada had told her the straightforward version and apologized for not removing Lily immediately and said she understood if there were consequences. Sarah had looked at her for a moment and then asked what Lily had been doing when Ada found her. Ada said she had her hand on his face. She was talking to him. Sarah asked what she thought Lily was saying. Ada said, "I don't know. She talks to everything. Her bears, the plants at home, the pigeons outside. She thinks everything can hear her," Sarah said quietly. "Maybe everything can." Roman asked to meet Lily. The meeting happened on a Thursday morning. Lily arrived in her pink dress holding her teddy bear, looked at the monitors and the tubes and all the machinery of serious medical circumstance, and was entirely unbothered by it. She climbed onto the bed with the same committed purposefulness as the first time, pressed the teddy bear against his chest, and looked at his face. She said, "You look better." Roman Hale, who had not cried in front of another person in 20 years, looked at the ceiling for a moment. Then he said, "I feel better." She patted his cheek twice with her small hand. Then she looked around the room and asked if there was juice. There was juice. Roman asked Ada what she needed. Not as a performance of generosity, as a genuine question from someone who intended to do something with the answer. Ada told him about the nursing qualification, the 2 remaining examinations, the cost and the time and the child care that disappeared whenever she tried to study past 10 in the evening. He asked how long it would take if those obstacles were removed. She said, "A year, maybe less." He made 4 calls that afternoon, not to make it easy. Ada did not want it made easy. She wanted it made possible, and those are different things, and she explained the difference to him clearly, and he understood it immediately, because he had built everything he owned by understanding the difference between removing obstacles and removing effort. The child care, the study access, the examination fees, all of it was already available through programs Ada had been eligible for and had not known about because nobody had told her, and she had not had time to find out. Roman's calls did not create new resources. They connected Ada to the ones that already existed and had been waiting. She sat her first remaining examination 4 months later. She passed. She sat the second 3 months after that. The day she received her results, she was in the corridor with her cart, when her phone lit up. She stood still for a moment. Then she went to the family room and sat down and was quiet for a while. Mernetta found her there. She looked at the phone and then at Ada's face and understood what she was looking at. She sat beside her and after a moment said, "I knew you would." Ada said, "You didn't know me when I started.